Hey everyone, it's T-Lore, and today I wanted to talk to you about a recently discovered movement strategy I'm going to refer to as schooner swing. So schooners and galleys both have an ability that at the end of their move action, they can rotate on the stern of the ship. Now that may not seem too useful, except if we set it up in a situation where my movement doesn't really get me all the way past the ship. So some scenario like this, and I move to the end of my movement, and now I can stern turn to set up for a broadside. When normally I wouldn't necessarily be able to get my S movement to get there, it's pretty limited in application. However, I'm going to show you a recently discovered strategy where you can actually use the length of the ship to your advantage. So let's take a look at that. I purposely chose a four-masted schooner because it is the longest version of either a schooner or a galley. So we'll look at its movement. We'll look at taking an S plus L movement, which is pretty fast. And you can see this is a pretty good distance that you'll be able to move. So we've got a pretty good idea what that is. However, a lot of schooners actually only have L movement. So we'll take this movement here and go to this position. Now I'm going to mark this with this white measure stick here. And we're going to go back to our original position. And instead of doing that, we're actually going to take our stern turn after moving just a tiny bit. So you can move less than your entire movement. So we're going to move less than that. We're also going to move completely as far opposite angle as we can. Now I have a spreadsheet where I went through and measured all these angles based off of the hull and everything, but let's just assume it's somewhere around 160 degrees. So I'm actually going to move my ship teeny tiny bit backwards at this angle. Okay, and now I'm going to do a stern turn. So I'm going to rest it on the stern. It's very hard to do this precisely with these ships as light as they are. And you can see I actually ended up making it the same length as my white measure stick here, just from doing that stern turn. Now I think it's probably a little bit more accurate than that. It's just difficult to get it to move precisely that far. So I'm going to try this again here. You can see it's just a little bit further. We're not talking a big ground shaking ability here, but you can see I did manage to get it to go a little bit further. And if there was terrain or other ships in the area, that may also work better for you. Now, the biggest benefit is going to be if you're coming off of a home island. So if you're starting out on a home island, then you're going to be able to take your stern turn. Instead of going the L movement, you will get a lot more movement out of it. So if I start my home island position here, where I'm docked at a home island, and then do a stern turn, again, you'll see that greater than L length come out. So you'll get a lot more because you're not having to do that initial backwards movement to try and get your bow as close to the enemy as you can. But that's just something that I wanted to throw out there. Now, there are a few schooners that move S, but on the majority, there's really not too many that gain the benefit from being longer than the L movement. So just a reminder, if you move an L or less, the stern turn will help you, and that's only on a four-masted schooner and a four-masted galley. If you move an S length, then there are several other galleys and schooners that will pick up additional speed from this. So you can see we would actually move quite a bit longer than an S length by doing that same stern turn maneuver. So if I start here, do a little bit of almost a 180, not quite due to the bow shape, and then perform a stern turn, you can see I end up quite a bit extra distance over the S movement. So this is a great way to get a little bit of extra movement out of shorter ships. Now, I will say, if you do try to copy this onto something like a 10-mast, you're better off just trying to get a plus S movement or something like that rather than copy a schooner, but you never know. There might be an application where you have nothing viable to copy, but there's still a schooner out there. You can copy the schooner and try the stern turn maneuver with a 10-mast. So hopefully that was helpful, and you can just use the length of the ship and determine if it's going to be a viable option for you to get a little bit of extra movement out of your ship that moves pretty slow. But if your ship's already moving S plus L, you're not going to get any additional benefit out of it.